Hello and welcome to the handover video for your Rimor EVO77 Plus. We'll go around the exterior of the vehicle and then we'll step inside and show you how everything in the interior operates. Well, one of the first things you find at the side of the cab, the passenger side, is the access to your diesel fuel. Below here is the AdBlue. Now the AdBlue doesn't have a gauge like a fuel gauge, but a light will come on when you have about 1200 miles to empty. At that point, fill it up next time you're filling with diesel. If you don't fill up at that point, the light will start to flash at you when you've got about 400-500 miles left to zero. And if you don't fill up at that point and go all the way to zero, the light will go red, come on, and your vehicle will go into limp mode, and when you switch the ignition off after it's been in limp mode, it won't start again and you'll have to go and see a vehicle technician. So as soon as it starts to flash, that's the time to top up your AdBlue. Next to the door there is the battery locker. I've unlocked this in advance so that we can get easy access to it. So this is your leisure battery, and behind your leisure battery you'll see the charging unit for the leisure battery and some various connector blocks. You don't have to go anywhere near this in the everyday operation of the vehicle. This is a master switch to switch off the leisure battery. Now if you switch this off, yes, it will completely isolate the leisure battery, but as you're driving, the battery will not take charge from the alternator. So unless you're putting the vehicle in storage, we advise you leave that switched on. This is the fill point for the water tank. Simply use one of the keys to unlock it. It's just like a fuel cap. It comes off. Garden hose in there, fill up with water. Next to that is the cassette hatch. It's a two-handed operation. You push in the top and the bottom at the same time. I pushed in the bottom in advance so I could demonstrate it while holding the camera. Down here there's a little blue handle that lifts up to clear this white lip here and allows you to withdraw the cassette. The cassette, as you can see, comes out very easily. If you feel any resistance when you try to bring the cassette out, stop and go inside and check that the blade has been closed inside the toilet area, otherwise the cassette won't come out. When you insert the cassette, this slides back to that position, slides back to there actually, and then the blade inside turns this blue handle which opens that valve, allowing waste material to enter there. So as you can see, in the closed position, that's running in line with the cassette, which allows the cassette to withdraw. If you haven't closed the blade properly and it's at an angle like that, you'll feel resistance, it won't come away. But if you give it a good tug, it will come away, but it will break this mechanism. And you can't repair it, you just have to buy a new toilet cassette, which is an expense you don't want to have. To empty the toilet cassette, you undo the blue cap on the end here, and you tip the cassette out, pressing this button here to release the airlock, which allows you to expel the waste material there. The cap has measurements on it, and you can see green residual fluid there. It's green fluid that gets used on campsites these days, not the old traditional blue. Blue is not septic tank friendly, and some campsites will actually ask to see your chemicals before allowing you to empty your cassette. After you have emptied the cassette, recharged it with chemicals, a cap full, and about a litre of water to start diluting the chemicals, return the cassette, making sure it clicks past that little white plastic point there, and that's you good to go. Continuing down the side of the vehicle, we come to the flue. The boiler is on the other side of this exterior wall. Never block that. Don't be tempted to hang a cagoule or an anorak over there to dry, because the boiler has a safety mechanism. If the flue is not clear, it senses back pressure of the exhaust gases and the boiler will switch off, and then you'll get no hot water or central heating. Next to that, you find an external shower point. The shower itself, the head unit, is stored in the rear, in the garage of the vehicle. And if we look inside the garage, you'll see at the back, you'll see there's the shower head is over there. The reason it's on that side of the vehicle is that there is a second shower point on the other side of the vehicle too. This is the frost protection valve of the boiler. You see the blue handle at the top, the diamond shaped handle, is currently sitting across the top of the valve, and that little blue button is flush. When the time comes to do a winter drain down, you turn this through 90 degrees, that button will pop out and the tank will empty. Turning it back through 90 degrees and pressing the blue button seals the valve again, and that means the boiler can now be charged with water and will operate. If the temperature in here drops below 3 degrees Celsius, that will automatically trip and dump all the water out of your tank. It's a safety measure, just in case of, as the name suggests, it's frost protection. If there's going to be a frost and the water freezing will damage your boiler, it'll dump it out before that happens. To reset it, if it's cold, you have to get the temperature in here back up to about 8 degrees Celsius before you can reset it. To do that, you simply put on your heating. You can have heating without hot water, but you can't have the boiler switched on to heat the water until that valve is closed and the boiler is filled. One of the advantages of this model is that you can access the garage from both sides. Inside the garage, you'll see the stored levelling ramps, some spare carpet that the previous owner has left behind, the handle for winding out the awning, the central support for the awning. It's quite a long awning, so that centre support just gives it a bit more rigidity, and there's a simple little light here to light up the garage if you're trying to get anything out of it in the dark. The fridge is located on the other side of this exterior wall. These are vents for the fridge, they must be kept clear at all time. The fridge is a three-way fridge, and we'll explain how it operates when we're inside the vehicle. The main power input when you're on hookup on a site is located here just beside the shower point on this side. This shower point is cold only. The shower point that's fitted on the other side next to the boiler is hot. This shower point just comes from the cold water feed to the kitchen sink. When you're plugging in on a site, always plug into the van first, and then take this cable over to the plug-in point and plug in and switch on when you get to the plug-in point. Never plug into the plug-in point first and carry a live lead back to the van. If you're walking over wet grass or if it's raining, you are in danger, not of killing yourself, but if it does short out because of water, it will trip all the fuses. Next to the front door, we find the gas locker. This is a gasset system, which is refillable gas bottles. It is a drive safe regulator, so you never have to switch the bottles off. Leave them on all the time. If you are involved in an accident or a collision, or if you hit a pothole at speed, this little valve here will pop out and the gas will be cut off to the rest of the vehicle, making it safe. If you're going on a ferry, Loadmaster may require you to close off the gas, in which case these two brass knobs on top of valves on top of the two canisters are turned clockwise to close. As you can see, this bottle is full and that bottle is full, so you get into full tanks. When you run out of gas to refill, simply go to an LPG filling station, you take this plastic cover off, and underneath you'll find the connector to which you attach the gas nozzle to refill your tanks. Now we'll demonstrate how to operate the awning. The awning handle clips in so, and you start to wind the awning out. Continue to wind the awning out until it reaches about head height, a comfortable height for you to go under the pelmet at the front and release the legs. Always make sure that the habitation door is closed when you're doing this. Right, once you've reached about head height, if you come to the extreme side of the awning, you can release the leg so, and then you come to the middle and it simply clips out, it folds down, place the leg in position and tighten the screw, and that will hold the leg in place. Do the same thing at the other side. Place the leg at an angle of about 45 degrees so, and wind the awning the rest of the way. The extra awning section that I showed you in the garage hooks in there and hooks in there to give you additional rigidity. Once you've got both legs down, make sure one leg is slightly higher than the other. This is an extreme case because we haven't put both legs down, but you do want to have a slope, so if it does rain, the water will run off the awning rather than well into the middle, causing the canvas to stretch. To put the awning away, you simply reverse the process. The first thing you see on entering the vehicle is the control panel, which is above the door just after you enter the van. You can just see when the control panel is not on the icons. The one you're looking for to begin with is the on off. Switching it on wakes everything up. You can see from this little icon here we are connected to mains electricity, and along the top there are 3 light bulbs marked 1, 2 and 3. These are the various lighting circuits. Switching them on supplies power, and hey presto, lights have come on. Once there is power to all circuits, the individual light switches can then operate. So this is a master switch, number 3, for all your interior lights. So that's all your wall lights. Number 2 is the master for these downlighters, which come on with a small blue light, so that during the night, if anyone wants to get out of one of the beds to go to the bathroom, you don't have to put on big lights to wake everyone up. But if you press the blue light, it's an LED light, it comes on, and that gives you a bright down light. More times you press it, the brighter it gets, and then finally it goes off again. There is a similar light underneath the bed, which forms the ceiling of the rear lounge compartment. The master for that is the left hand side of these 2 on off switches. You'll notice when I switch this on, the blue light comes on, and when I switch it off, the blue light goes off. Once the blue light's on, you can then touch the blue light and the LED light will come on. The second switch activates the downlighters, which are underneath these 2 cupboards here. You can see a little on off switch, press that, and that downlighter comes on and then goes off again. There's a similar one under the cupboard on that side, both controlled by that master there. The third switch on the bed, while we're here I may as well demonstrate this, is for lowering the bed. It's an electric mechanism. The bed comes down. You'll see on top of the mattress there's a bunk ladder. The bunk ladder fits into these 2 slots, and that gives you access to the rear bed. By pressing the button the other way, the bed rises back up into the roof space. While the bed is down, and this applies to the front as well, you'll see there are 2 roof lights, reading lights for those that are in the bed, and they are touch sensitive. Just touch them and they come on, as long as the master switch for them, which is light number 2, is switched on. The bed at the front operates in exactly the same way, with the same 2 buttons controlling the lights under here and the light under there, which again comes on, and then by pressing the blue light you get the bright downlighter. Returning to the control panel, I'll put the main lights on again to make life easier for us. You'll see 3 more buttons here. The I button is the information button. This now gives us condition of the batteries. Middle battery is the vehicle battery. Bottom battery is the leisure battery. And the top is the freshwater tank. You have to have the water pump switched on to operate the taps around the vehicle. Before you can switch on the hot water, you have to charge the water system. That involves filling the tank on the outside using the blue access point that I showed you earlier in the film. Then you switch on the hot tap in the kitchen. Lots of air will escape and the water will start to spurt. You'll hear the water pump run. You leave that until you get continuity of flow coming out from the hot water. So, once you have that continuity of flow from the hot water, you know that the boiler has been charged and the boiler is full of water. You can then switch on the hot water system, which is done from that control panel, which we'll look at in a moment. This button here switches on the awning light, the light on the outside of the vehicle and the door underneath the awning. You notice that the eye has just gone out. It goes to sleep itself rather than waste power, because while that information is being collated and shown on the panel, it's drawing power from your leisure battery. You have 2 buttons here which have not been activated. The same panel is used on different models. This is an auxiliary circuit usually used for another bank of lights, and this is an on-off switch for the charging unit for the solar panel. The solar panel fitted to your vehicle, and you can see the control panel for the solar panel there is constantly on. All you have to do is open the cupboard and have a look. If there's a light on, and at the moment you can see the light is flashing, it's because we are parked under an awning. If you're out in the open, that light would be on constantly, and that means your solar panel is working. Below this control panel, this final little button here, it's not a button, that's a temperature sensor, and that's used when you're using the central heating controlled from that panel. When that sensor reaches, or the air around that sensor reaches the temperature you've selected, then the thermostat switches the heater off and on and off and on, keeping the room at a constant temperature. So the gas is always on because you have the drive safe regulator. Inside the cupboard below the cooker, you'll see the isolator valves for the various gas systems. The one at the bottom is the fridge, and there's a little icon of a snowflake there to demonstrate that. The next one up is the boiler and hot water, followed by the stove and then the oven. I will demonstrate all of these working for you now. The position that these are in at the moment is the open and on position. If you turn it to that position, you isolate that item. In this case, it's been the oven. So if you smell gas from the oven when you're on holiday, you can isolate the oven, safely use the rest of the vehicle, and then when you get back home, go to your local dealer and the technician will fix your problem for you. Also down here, while we're in this cupboard, is the master RCD switch. If you're on a campsite and someone touches a plug with wet fingers, that RCD will trip, protecting you and the equipment in your vehicle. Right. To use the gas, press and turn the knob to the full position, press the igniter, flame will come on. Hold this button in for a few moments to allow the thermocouple to heat up. Once the thermocouple is heated up, you can release the button and the gas will stay on. You must never close this on top of a flame. This is the lid. There is no cutout. Some systems will have a cutout when the lid comes down, the gas goes off. This does not. If you bring this down on top of a lit flame, it will get very hot and it will shatter and glass will go everywhere. All the other rings function as they should as well. Always easier doing this with two hands, but when you're demonstrating, one has to hold the camera while the other one is showing you what's what. Right, we've seen this tap working, so we can close this down. I'm going to let that cool down before I drop the lid on it, as well as being, that's it cool now, as well as not wanting to close that on a naked flame. You don't want to close it when the cooker is still hot. Let's look at the Truma control panel now. Before you switch the control panel on, you must make sure that this panel has been switched on. This must be lit. With a 12-volt supply, this panel will now switch on. Now the panel will switch on without the 12-volt supply, but the first thing it does is it goes looking for that 12 volts that it needs to operate its systems. If it doesn't find it, it will throw up an error code and you'll have to go through a reboot. You don't want to have to do that constantly, because it means switching everything off and leaving it for 15 minutes and switching back on again. What you want to do is make sure you switch on in the correct sequence. So 12-volt supply at the door on first, and then come over here and press this button and the panel will light up. Press it again until you get that screen. Now, this flashing symbol of a thermometer inside a wee icon of the van is for the heating. So it's flashing. Let's press the button to enter the system. It's showing off at the moment. I'll turn the heat up. Now, it's quite a warm day, so I'll go all the way to 30, otherwise it won't switch on. The thermostat will say, no, it doesn't have to be on 30. Coming along to here, I can switch on the hot water. Eco is about 40 degrees Celsius. Hot is about 65 degrees Celsius. Then press the button to select that. Now you'll notice that this symbol has started to flash, and now this symbol is flashing as well. That means that the system has not reached the temperature that you have set. It will continue to flash until the water reaches 60 degrees, because I've set it to hot, and it will continue to flash until the air temperature in the van reaches 30 degrees. Now, that's going to be far too hot for me today, so I'm going to switch them off now. Start by switching off the room, and then we'll switch off the water. Turn the dial from there we go. You have to turn this dial till that flashes. Then you select water is now off, room off as well. Now, let's say I want to turn on hot water on its own. Make sure by charging the boiler that there's water in the boiler. Select boost. It doesn't get any hotter, but it gets there quicker. It will get there quicker though at the expense of anything else. So if we had the central heating on and I chose boost on the hot water, the central heating would be turned off and all the energy would go to the hot water until the hot water got to temperature, and then the central heating would come back on again. So I'm just going to put the central heating on its own. So we have the room temperature set at 20 degrees Celsius. We can then turn the dial clockwise until the fan starts to flash. And then if we switch the flash on, we can see we have a choice of eco or high. Now if we put it on high, it makes a little bit more noise, but the fan will blow the air around and the room should heat up quicker. If we are not using the central heating, so we'll go to the central heating and switch the central heating off, that fan then becomes, if you enter, it's now off, but if I turn it to the right, we have the choice of using it as a vent. Switch it on and you have fan speeds up to 10. Now, it's ventilation, it's not air conditioning. It won't cool down the van. It will, however, move the air around, which might help it be a wee bit more bearable on a very, very hot day. There's a timer, so you can set your central heating to come on or off at different times. If you're out walking, say, you're going to be back at a certain time, you can have the hot water on so you can have a shower when you get back to the van. This is the back button, incidentally. Clock here to set the clock. The time is, it's 15:40, so I will reset this to 1540 so the time is right when you come to collect the van. And then finally we have settings where we can do things like change the temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. I'll leave it on Celsius. You can also change the brightness of the screen, the language, whether it's 12 or 24 hour clock, etc. To switch the entire system off, you switch individually, switch off the hot water, switch off the central heating, and then press this button till the word off appears. Keep it held. Now the word off appears, release, and your system is switched off. Moving into the toilet area, we were talking earlier on when we were outside the vehicle about the valve on the top of the toilet cassette. That's the view of that valve from inside the vehicle. This is the handle. If we move the handle to the side, the valve will open. And if I move it back again, the valve will close. It's kind of difficult to see, but there, I think you can see it moving. Somewhat dark down there. Right, to flush the toilet, simply press that blue button. You have to have the water pump switched on though for the toilet flush to operate. And after the water has run away, rinsing the bowl, you simply close the valve. To switch on the lights inside the bathroom, there's two little switches under this cupboard. Now, you can't see it when the cupboard door is closed, so you just put your hand in and touch the two switches and the lights come on in the shower cubicle and in the toilet side of things. Now this is a very luxurious shower cabinet you have. You have a rain shower head at the top and you have a handheld shower here, which also doubles up as the tap. So it's simply lift up and turn to cold and to hot. This is exactly the same. I'm not going to turn it on, otherwise I'll get soaked from here, but we'll put a bucket underneath it on the day to demonstrate. So that's cold and that turns to hot and it tilts up in exactly the same manner as that handle there, but that operates the rain shower at the top, and obviously shower door here, which you close over so that the rest of the bathroom stays dry while you're showering. It's a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle to make up the fifth bed, but basically that is what you're looking to achieve once you've placed everything in its spot. And this is how it looks without the cushions. The big cushion resting there and also down there across the folded out table, the back cushion going in there, and the cushion from the seat at the head of the table going there, and a reminder of what it looks like when it's all together. Your Rimor comes with a three-way fridge. Press and hold this button at the side here till the lights light up to switch the fridge on. It's currently set on automatic, and when it's on automatic it will select the best possible power source. To change that, press and hold this button until things start to flash. Now we have a choice using these arrows to move from automatic to mains selected manually, to battery selected manually or 12 volt supply, and to gas. Now battery will operate while you're driving. It takes its feed from the alternator. So if you switch the fridge on to this 12 volt supply and have the engine switched off, nothing's going to happen but your fridge warming up. The insulation, however, is very good in these fridges. They'll only rise by 2 degrees Celsius in a 10-hour period. So it is possible for a cold fridge to be switched off completely, say if you're on a ferry, and all the stuff in the inside to stay cold until you arrive at your destination. So let's switch back on, wake the panel up, hold this until everything starts to flash again, press it one more time and it takes us to the temperature setting, and by using the arrows you can adjust your temperature up and down and one more press takes you back. We recommend you leave it on auto at all times and just let the fridge decide whether you're driving, plugged into mains, or whether it should operate on gas. To drain the freshwater tank, you first remove the seat from the cushion from the rear seats, open the hatch and unscrew this red access panel. Inside the tank you'll find a white plastic T-piece. It's very difficult to see in the film, but if you put your hand in, as you see my colleague doing at the moment, you'll feel a T-piece. You lift it up into the horizontal position and pull out a bung. So this is the T-piece. It goes into the hole and it pushes over, and as you push it over in the hole, the cork expands and plugs the hole and stops water draining out. To drain the grey water tank, there's a T-piece handle next to the habitation door. Simply pull it out to open the valve, draining the tank, push it back in once the tank is emptied. Your Rimor motorhome is based on a Ford Transit. It's a fairly standard Transit style dashboard layout. Lighting controls and mirror adjustments down in the right hand side. On the right hand stalk is the windscreen wipers, left hand stalk light controls. Media unit with USB input as well as 12-volt charging points down there. Climate control below the media unit, reverse to the left and up on the 6-speed manual gearbox. Controls for the cruise control are on the steering wheel on the left hand side, along with media volume controls. On the right hand side of the steering wheel is the navigation buttons for your trip computer and the hang up and receive call button, as well as the voice activated controls for hands-free phone calls while on the move. Over on the door there is an independent central locking button, and above that you'll find the controls for the mirror, not the mirror, so the window adjustment. And that is, with the exception of your reversing camera screen up there and the microphones for your hands-free phone, that is the cab of your motorhome. To open the bonnet of the Ford, the key goes in and turns to the left once to take you to the first position. Turn the key then all the way over to the right to the second position. The bonnet stay is located at the front here and it inserts up here. From left to right under the bonnet we have the screen wash, oil filler point. This is the brake fluid reservoir here. Dipstick for oil is down there, and moving across here you'll find the coolant reservoir tank and remote posts for jump starting if required, because your battery is not easily located. It's mounted underneath the footwell in the cab, the vehicle battery that is. So positive connection goes on there, and you're looking for a good earth point. You'll see that it is indicated here, and it is this point here. When it's behind that tube, you'll see it's an engine lifting bracket which looks like that, and that's where you would put, down there is where you put your negative connection.